Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, one of the most common complaints I get on new car reviews over the last year or so is, Ped, those cars are too expensive, and then also most of them are full battery electric cars as well. So I thought I'd try and put that right today, because behind me is one of the cheapest new cars you can buy in the UK today. Behind me is the brand new Kia Picanto. That car, as spec, is £15,595, and it's a petrol, and it's a manual. There's nothing to complain about in this video, right? Now, I don't feature many A-segment cars on the channel, but when the invite from Kia came through to this event in the beautiful Surrey Hills, I thought there's an opportunity to try out one of the cheapest cars you can get your hands on. And A-segment cars are, well, they're becoming more and more mass market as new car sales, because just the price point puts them at a more affordable level for the average family. But last year in the UK, 1 in 5 A-segment car sales was a Kia Picanto. And the Picanto celebrates its 20th birthday this year. It's been around a long time. But can a car that's this small and this cheap really be any good? We start off at the front of the car with its styling. This car is undoubtedly a Kia. Obviously there's a big Kia badge on the front, but that's the format of the headlights, this tiger face at the front. And I really like what they've done here. They've kind of brought it up and evolved it and refreshed it, and it shares a lot of design cues with some of its siblings. I was recently with Kia EV3 and Kia EV9, the kind of all-electric flagship products of Kia at the moment. But this is a volume seller for them. It's a very important car, and I really like what they've done to the front of it. Now, in the context of most modern cars, which seem to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the new Picanto is actually quite dinky from the outside, and that's going to cause some issues and challenges with just making it big and spacious on the inside. So let's start to explore that. Let's do boot space first. Now, the boot isn't gigantic, but it's big enough for, I don't know, a medium-sized family shop. You could get a couple of flight cases in there. The only thing I would comment on is there's quite a big gap between the boot lid here and the actual boot floor. So getting things in and out might be a little bit challenged. Tiny little parcel shelf, and you can drop the seats if you want some more space for bigger loads. But the boot isn't too bad. There is a wheel well down there, which gives me hope that you might be able to spec a spare space saver tyre. At the moment, it's just got me locking wheel nuts and the other things in there, little can of emergency foam. So rear space in the boot, not too bad. Now, at 6'3", I'm expecting this part of the review to be a little bit emotional, because I'm going to try and get in the back. I've got the driver's seat set to where I need it as a driver, so let's give it a go. There's not going to be a massive amount of legroom. I don't expect there to be, but, well, okay. Can I get the door shut? My right leg is now wedged against the driver's seat. So, look, it's an A-segment car. I'm not expecting it to be giganormous in here. For me, an adult, big adult in the driver's seat, big adult behind the driver's seat, I wouldn't want to be in here for very long. Having said that, kids in the back, probably fine. And I guess this size of car, it's not going to maybe be a main car for the family. It's more likely to be maybe a run-around city car, in which case these rear seats may be more of a kind of emergency seat than anything else. But given the footprint of the car, it's not too bad in here. Now, we're in a very base spec car, so there's not, you know, rear seat climate control or anything, just cloth seats and simple materials. Let's jump in the front and have a look at the front end spec. Probably won't video me getting out of here because it might take me some time. Okay, up front, where all the action is. First impressions are, it's not bad in here. Now, this car is under £16,000, so there are bound to be some cheaper materials. The steering wheel is clad in a leather feeling material, don't know whether it's actual leather, and then the rest of the materials are going to be quite scratchy plastic, but I expected that. But let's start the car up. So first things first. Now, where's the button? Can't see the button. What's this? Whoa. What's that for? Oh, hold on. There's a slot. Looks like it's for that goes in there. Now, where's the start button? Nope, nope, not one of those. Oh, hold on. You twist the key in the ignition to start the car. Not done that for a while. We've then got a display now. As we'll see when we go out driving, I can do Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on there, although I do, in this model, I need a USB cable to do that. I've got a 5-speed manual box. What's that? This is called a handbrake, not one of those horrible buttons you push. I've actually got a proper handbrake. Great for handbrake turns. But yeah, everything else in here, I've got electric door mirrors, I've got electric windows, I've got lots of nice physical buttons for my climate control. I've got loads of buttons on the steering wheel. And then this is a touchscreen infotainment system, but I've got some main navigation buttons underneath there. And all in all, it's not bad in here, you know. Jokes aside about the key, I actually quite like the fact it's a real key and not one of these, a proximity entry things, keyless entry thing. So I quite like the fact you've got to actually turn the key in a physical key. Probably some security benefits to that as well. And then overall, pretty good. Okay, let's start this test drive. Oh, look at that, bit of wheel spin from the mighty 62 horsepower. I tell you what, already it's got a really cool tone to the engine. It's almost like a kind of boxery kind of sound. 3-cylinder, 1 litre, massive horsepower and torque. So clearly the driving experience in this car is going to be, especially with a modern day Compass, quite back to basics. I've got a 5-speed manual transmission, but there's still a lot of buttons in here. So the steering wheel is covered in buttons. I've got, by the looks of it over here, all the various things for my cruise control, you heard it. And then all of my various infotainment settings. I've got wired Apple CarPlay, and I've got a touchscreen display, which is very familiar if you've ever driven a Kia. And actually, you've got all the things that you would want from a modern day car. I've even got lane departure warning and assistance. Got to be able to turn that off somewhere. So yeah, it's good. Now, obviously, as I've already said, the materials in here are a bit, but you know, you've got to view this car. Kia have to make this car at an affordable price. Look, there we go, lane departure assistance. Kia have got to make this car at an affordable price, and you have to do that somehow. And clearly, the materials choice is a really, really important part of that. You go up to 5th gear with a little indicator telling me whether to change up or change down. It's quite cool, this. Now, I've had there's no reach adjustment on the steering, just rake. So I've done that, and it's relatively good. The seats are all manual operation on sliders and buttons, but I've managed to get myself in a relatively good driving position. I'm feeling quite high in the car. But let's face it, the average buyer of this car is not going to be getting in there trying to get into the ultimate racing position. trying to get low in the car to feel at one with the sporty nature of the car. They're going to be getting in the car to go to the shops. And actually the ingress and egress of this car is really, really easy, which will be just what a typical buyer will want, I'm sure. Oh, there's a shot road. This car sounds ace. I mean, it's not going very fast, but it sounds wicked. It's one of those cars where you can really, really rev it out and you're not going to get in any trouble with the police. In fact, I reckon if you actually broke the speed limit in this car, the police would probably give you an award rather than a speeding fine. But it sounds brilliant when it's trying to do it. Absolutely brilliant. Now this car is riding on 14-inch wheels. I mean, I'm so used to modern day car reviews where cars are on, you know, 19s are small nowadays, 20, 21, 22-inch wheels. So to be in a car with 14-inch wheels, and actually the ride quality is really, really good. The car feels very lightweight and very small, and you do feel a little bit vulnerable. And when you get to a hill like that, you do have to use the gears, you have to change down, you have to kind of get all of that massive amount of horsepower to drag you up the hill. But the ride quality is great. It deals with the imperfections in the road really well, and actually it's a competent ride in the car. I just find it really funny that nowadays in cars we often have so much power, we just sit there in the same gear and never even worry about having to change down to get up a hill. But we are in the Surrey Hills, so there's a lot of them. But yes, using the gearbox, oh, it's great. Any excuse to swap cogs. You can even, if you really wanted to, not that the average Picanto buyer is going to want to do this, the pedals are really nicely spaced for heel and towing as well, if you want to get into that kind of, you know, real sporty feeling. Now this car's actually done less than 1,000 miles, so it's still in that running in phase, and I'm only 13 miles or so into my current trip data, but I'm already at 40 miles to the gallon, and I'm not really driving for economy either. So my gut feel says that this car is going to be pretty frugal, and that's something here. It's got crash detection, it's telling me where there's going to be speed cameras. It's got some, it's got all the toys, this car. For the amount of money, the fact this is the base spec Picanto as well. So this is the level 2, they do a GT, a level 3 and a GT line. So if you wanted more kit, more cosseting, more luxury, nicer materials, then there's plenty of options and plenty of scope to do that. But I really wanted to, for a change, because I often get criticised about always having the highest spec car, I just wanted to go for the absolute base spec to see what it's like. And first of all, I'm massively impressed with the amount of kit on this car. It's got cruise control, it's got proper physical buttons, it's got all of the modern day safety systems that you need. It's got a handbrake and a gear lever to help you change gears yourself. And it's got a great engine tone that just puts a smile on your face. You're not going very fast, but it's a very engaging car to drive because you have to really work at it. There's no power to pull you out of issues. You need to be in the right gear at the right time, else you're not going anywhere. And I love that about this car. And then just in terms of the way it drives on an open road, we haven't had massive amounts of flowing B road, but that's not what this car's about. Arguably, this little test route we've got here through the Surrey Hills is perfect hunting ground for this car. We've gone through some nice villages. It's tiny, this car. It fits through little gaps. When you need to squirt past a bus and there's some oncoming traffic and there's a small gap, you can fit through that really easily. It would be an absolute cinch to park. No worries at all. There's fantastic visibility. The A-pillar is actually quite thin. You've got this B-pillar here is a little bit in the way for the over-the-shoulder check. But actually the visibility, the light in the cabin is really impressive, and it's just a really nice place to be. These seats, they're not the most supportive in the world, but again, I have to keep bringing my compass back to the type of car that we're reviewing. You know, they're functional. They don't have loads of motors and loads of weight in them. You just have sliders and buttons and things you pull around, and I love that about this car. It's just really simple. Here we are, pièce de résistance. Oh, I think we're going to have a drag race with this tipper truck here, don't you? I reckon we'll have him. See, I'm in the wrong gear, but hold on. It'll get its head of steam ready. It sounds wicked. Oh dear, that's it though. 50 mile an hour and we're at the limit. So, yeah, turns out 15.5 grand is going to get you a decent motor. And I know I'm sure there's still going to be, because the internet's full of them, right? There's still going to be some people commenting on this video that £15,000 is a lot of money for a new car. And I understand that there will be people out there maybe watching this video that have a budget of 5 grand for a car or 10 grand for a car. But in the world that we live in the price of new car world that we live in, under £16,000 for a 5-seat car that, you know, you could get for maybe 5 adults in this car. The boot's an okay size. It's an A segment car, don't forget, so it's not meant to be a limo. That actually goes down the road pretty well. I'm now up to 42 miles to the gallon, so that's only going one way. It's getting better and better all the time. That's very, very impressive. So, final thoughts on the new little Kia Picanto, 20 years old. How did that happen? Well, I am very, very impressed with it. As I said a few times in this film, I've had to kind of alter my radar a little bit just to bring my expectations in line with the price point of the car. And if you do that, it impresses on many, many levels. This little 1 litre, on paper, it doesn't look like it would be that much of a motor. You know, it's got very little horsepower really, but it's very characterful. It's got a really nice tone to it, especially when you get it up sort of above 4,000 RPM. It sounds really quite fruity. And the thing about it is you really have to drive the car. You really have to be in the right gear at the right time, because if you're not, there's no torque to drag you out of trouble. And I like that a lot. Driving position's pretty good. I love the fact that there's so many toys. I love the fact there's lots of buttons. The Kia infotainment system is, if you've driven any Kia, you'll notice that and recognize it completely. I've got the Kia maps running at the moment just to see what they're like, but it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto via a cable if you want it. We've now got our MPG up to 44 miles to the gallon. It's keep going up. So I don't know what that's going to top out in the real world, but that's great. You want that kind of fuel efficiency. And then in terms of space and practicality, it's impressive. So it just goes to show you, if you want to buy a new car but your budget isn't going to stretch to the 30, 40, 50, 60,000 pound cars that seem to be almost the kind of de rigueur these days, they're everywhere. For under £16,000, you're going to get yourself a cracking little car, and it's a Kia, so it's going to come with all of the benefits of the Kia warranty and Kia dealership experience that make them such an attractive car for many, many buyers. And I think that's a very, very impressive thing. I love the fact that I've actually come to a car review. I walked in today and they went, "What's your plans today, Ped?" And I went, "I want the cheapest car that you've got here today. I don't want the top spec one. I just want the cheapest Bogo spec that you can give me." And back in the day, Bogo spec meant you were lucky if you got carpets. I remember my sister had a Fiesta Popular Plus, and the windscreen washer was a little squeezy button on the floor that you pushed with your left foot. This, it's got everything. Cruise control, air conditioning, it's got a stereo, it's got satellite navigation, it's got all of the driver assistance features you want. A very, very impressive little car. Let me know in the comments what you think of the new Kia Picanto. But for now, I'm going to head on back, and this afternoon I might take something else out. It's going to have to do well to beat this though. I've really enjoyed my little drive in one of the cheapest cars for sale today. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe. Back the truck up, one last bit as we literally arrive back at the end of the test drive. My MPG is now up to 47. I think that is pretty impressive.